Hello, and welcome to another episode of TacoBytes, your daily bite of Degen, episode number 978. Yes, that means you have listened to me for 977 reasons. I don't know why. But we have an amazing day today. A gentleman that we got to meet all the way in Abu Dhabi during the global AI show and global blockchain show, floor leader of the House of Representatives of the state of Michigan, the one and only Brian Posthumous. You really focus on the two.
Posthumous.
There
you go.
I always mess that up. GM representative. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Man, I'm amazing. I am rocking the taco vibes. My mom bought this for me for Christmas, so I have like a whole suit of taco now.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's been gosh, 3 weeks since we met last in Abu Dhabi, and we had a good time having a conversation there, and glad to catch up again.
Yeah, no, it was an amazing time in Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi was amazing. The global AI show, the global blockchain show, was just a really fun time to cover and everything like that. So it was really cool to sort of, like we were talking earlier. I was like, 5-minute interview, 20 minutes, you're like, yeah, I got time for that. I think, you had your aide with you. I mean, aide, cousin, nephew.
Yep.
Nephew, with you. And I looked at the timestamp, and the recorded section was like almost an hour,
right?
So, and we covered everything, which was sort of fun.
There was a lot to talk about.
There was one of the funny things that we talked about: Epstein files versus strategic Bitcoin reserve, and you literally said strategic Bitcoin reserve first.
Yep.
And then would you call this a release of the Epstein files, or would you call this a tease, a trailer?
I mean, what percentage of the files have actually been released? I don't know, like something small. So we'll see if anything more comes out.
Okay. Yeah, we'll see. But for those that don't know who you are and the full title of what your pedigree is and stuff like that, we've had politicians on before, we've had people running before, audience is not shy to politicians. But Brian, so everyone gets to know you a little bit more. Let's hear about you.
All right. So my name is Brian Posthumous. By trade, I'm a 5th-generation farmer. So I actually started my career in hop farming. And so I grow hops for beer production. We're actually in the process of selling that right now. So after that, once that's gone, then I'll be a full-fledged politician, I guess. But I ended up running for office in 2020, got elected in 2020, basically because, so I'm from Michigan. And for those of you that don't know, our governor was one of the governors that completely locked down the entire state. And I had a lot of problems with that. Basically, it actually almost bankrupted my farm. But I found myself speaking out against that quite a bit. And I figured, well, I guess if I'm going to be speaking out against this and nobody else is going to do anything about it, maybe I should run for office. And so that's when I decided to throw my hat in the ring, got elected, and figured, while I'm here, might as well make the best of it.
Was there a lot of competition?
A little bit. I mean, I won by a lot, but yeah. So I had I'm in a pretty conservative district, so I didn't have any real competition from the Democrat side. But in the primary, I was outspent 3-1, and all of the major money endorser, like major wealthy individuals in Michigan, endorsed my primary opponent, and we still ended up being able to win.
That's always good, you know. But then and that's sort of hard because you see a split within a party line and stuff like that, and you're like, well, so but now you have one of the things that I wanted to comment on, your banner picture on Twitter. You
Okay.
have you have sort of like a newer age elephant there.
I don't even remember what my actual banner picture looks like. I think I know, but what do you mean by a newer age elephant?
Well, like, so normally it's been like just like the standard outline elephant, for the
Oh,
Republican Party, but you have like a little bit more distinct. Your media arm made you a more modern elephant.
yeah, I have a digital guy that does all of my digital work for me. He works with me on it, but I knew from day one that I wanted to prioritize my digital footprint a little bit, and so brought on a digital guy that does a really good job with that type of thing.
Nice. And so like, have you reached? So, but now you're the incumbent now, and
Yep.
so like the Republican Party is fully backing you on everything.
Yeah, yeah, and I wouldn't say the party didn't back me. It was more just kind of the wealthy, the wealthier side of the donor community. For the most part, I had a few major donors, but my opponent had most of them, and he had and that opponent had been a long time like fundraiser bundler for Republican candidates around the country, and so it made sense. But ultimately, my message was resonated better with the people of the district.
Yeah. So have you? And so now you're connecting with other states and other state people, other Republicans that are running in different states to sort of help them on their tracks and stuff like that.
Yeah, especially when it comes to crypto policy, building out a framework for crypto policy. That's one of the main things I'm trying to do. Obviously, my focus is in Michigan and the things that I can accomplish there. But where I can be helpful outside of Michigan on crypto policy, I make myself available when I can.
Nice. Have you connected with John Deaton?
Where's he from?
Oh my gosh, where's Elizabeth Warren?
California. Massachusetts. Oh, no, Massachusetts. Yeah, Massachusetts. Good job.
Yes. I got there.
No, I haven't connected with him yet.
Oh, he's running again this year. He would be a great person. Former attorney, actually not former, current attorney. Works real heavy on crypto policy. Works with Stand with Crypto, and huge shout out to Stand with Crypto. I know you guys. You're entrenched with Stand with Crypto there in Michigan.
Yep.
So how has Stand with Crypto been in moving things along in policy wise?
They've done a really good job. So Elizabeth Hansen is the president in Michigan, and she does an incredible job there, mobilizing people throughout the state and creating the events and gatherings to really spread what crypto is, what Bitcoin is, and how they can create community around it. And so where that can lead to is actually providing support for people like me in the legislature that are trying to enact policies and trying to educate other members of the legislature on crypto. Because I mean, the biggest challenge that we face is legislators just don't know anything. Very few know anything about crypto, and the ones that do know very, very little. And politicians, rightfully so, are reticent to initiate policy on things that they don't understand.
Yeah. Now, and so do you? So you've seen your role sort of been as either like the educator or like the evangelicist of blockchain sort of in Michigan, or are you just more like the conduit of like, come meet Elizabeth?
So a little bit of both, right? So it's a combination of being a conduit and being an educator. Like, look, I am by no means an expert on the technology behind all of this, right? Like I know enough to be dangerous. I understand it. I understand the technology. More importantly, I understand the concept of decentralized finance and why that's important. And so while that conversation is important to have, that's not going to be the conversation that moves the needle when it comes to enacting legislation to help facilitate the growth of crypto. It's really about what is crypto, and I can handle that conversation pretty well. Why is it like how do we protect consumers? Like how do we create consumer protection in this area? We've had a lot of scams with kiosks and that type of thing in Michigan, as they have all around the country. And so whenever you have a new advancement in technology, there's always going to be the criminal element of people trying to take advantage of it before the regulation sets in, and that scares that'll scare people that don't know much about the technology. From like they'll lump it all as one, like because there's scams on kiosks or whatever, crypto's bad. And you have to separate the wheat from the chaff and understand what is bad, what is good, and how do you put the consumer protection practices in place in order to ensure that consumers are protected.
Yeah, well, because it sucks that like a kiosk can become a focal point, because then you're like, well, what about ATM skimmers?
Right. Exactly.
What about people that just come up and rob you for your dollar bills? Does that make dollar bills bad?
Right, and that's the exact conversation. Actually, the skimmers are the exact conversation that I have. Like, if you go to a gas station, there could be a skimmer on a gas station. Does that mean that that credit cards are a bad thing to use, or debit cards are a bad thing to use? Well, no, that's not the problem. The problem is the skimming.
Yeah, and so, but like, and you're so far you've worked to introduce a few pieces of legislation around both Bitcoin and blockchain. You want to touch on those real quick? Because it's 2 or 3 bills.
Well, there's several. So I'll try to summarize it as best I can. So we've introduced 2 different phases of packages, 2 of 3. So there's a total of 3, but so far we've introduced 2. The first phase of bills had like Bitcoin bill or crypto bill of rights in it, providing a framework of protection for individuals to hold and use crypto. We had the crypto strategic reserve, the ability for the state of Michigan to create a strategic reserve utilizing cryptocurrency. We had a bill to protect Bitcoin miners, to say that, okay, if there's a local community that is creating a zoning ordinance, they can't they can't unilaterally single out crypto miners and create harsher regulations on crypto miners than any other company that would be utilizing the same industrial zoned property. So that was one phase of package, one package of bills. Another one had authorizing, created the legal framework by which the state of Michigan could invest our state pension fund, a certain portion of our state pension fund, into cryptocurrency, and built out how do we do that in a manner that we can take advantage of the best performing asset class over the last 10 years, but also protect our pensioners. Right. So that way we're not investing, the state treasurer isn't investing everything in a pump and dump scheme or the Hawk Tuah coin. You know what I'm saying? And so we built out the framework for that.
I want some of my retirement fund to be in the Hawk Tuah coin.
Right.
It's crazy that is, we're still actually talking about that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts.
What about fart coin? Can we not just put some fart coin in there? That has staying power.
Right. So up until I introduced my bills, our laws are silent on the topic of crypto, because it's a totally new concept. And so when it came to our pension funds, our state pension funds, our state treasurer, to her credit, had invested a small portion of our pension funds into cryptocurrency. And to her credit, it wasn't some meme coin or whatever. We were at one point I think the third or fourth largest holder of Ethereum in the world, I believe, somewhere in there. Either way, it was a decent chunk.
With the ETF or directly?
It was ETF.
Okay. Grayscale, BlackRock.
No idea.
Okay.
That I have no idea. But at any rate, if she chose to at the time, however, she could have put that investment into Dogecoin or any other crypto that's out there, and because there was no safeguards on it. So we built out the framework that said, okay, number one, it is legal, and the state treasurer can invest in cryptocurrency, but that crypto has to have a minimum market cap floor. And I think it was set at 250 billion or something like that. Whatever threshold would be just Ethereum and Bitcoin. I don't even remember what that was off the top of my head. And then also it had to be regulated by the SEC. So they had to have a ETF option. And so we built those frameworks in order to protect the pensioners.
Nice. And so, if I remember right, the ETH ETF was trading around 3,800 when it launched. Bitcoin was Bitcoin was trading around like 34.7 when it launched. And so did you guys got to do the Bitcoin ETF as well to sort of balance that risk portfolio?
I think we have both, but
Okay.
I think the larger position is in Ethereum, but I do think I think the treasury went into both.
Nice. Good. Because I know ETH is down a little bit right now. I don't like hearing that state pensions are down, but this is one of the things that it's a time, like pension funds are a time and market thing, you know? And so that's one of the really cool things about this, in this time next year, 5,000, 10,000, if you listen to Tom Lee, February will be at 10K ETH, so
right.
Let's go, Tom. So, and right now we're about 3x, just under 3x up from when the Bitcoin ETF launched. So that's actually sort of cool so does she have a crypto background herself, or did she just look at it from a bean counter perspective?
I think she looked at it from a bean counter perspective. She has a better understanding of crypto than pretty much anybody else, than most of the people in state government that I've had a conversation with. And I don't know if that's what led to her investment, or if she was like, okay, maybe we should invest something into this, and then she learned about it. So I don't know, but she has done a very good job with that, which is saying something, because there are very few things that I speak positively about when it comes to our governor's administration in Michigan. Yeah. But that one, that choice, I do speak positively at.
All right, nice. So we've seen some different changes, like right now, especially around blockchain and AI. Where do you see, how is Michigan sort of approaching AI right now?
Right. So on an AI front, I'd say we are a little bit behind the 8 ball. And I'd say we're a little bit distracted on just the data center side of AI. And because that is a big conversation to have. It's controversial among local communities and that type of thing. It's just a difficult conversation to have. And unfortunately, I think because we get bogged down into that, it's difficult for us to really paint the picture of what is the big picture of what is the future going to look like 5 to 10 years from now. I don't think we're having that conversation enough. Like when you're talking about AI, when you're talking about augmented reality, when you're talking about blockchain technology and creating communities around all of these things, it's such a different future that people don't really fully comprehend. It's hard to really wrap your head around it all. And so we get bogged down into, okay, where should we put a data center? When the conversation should be, what is the actual energy output we're going to need in order to power the future that we are looking at?
Yeah. So here, a random question I sort of have for you, and this is just me coming off, so there's been talk about different governments setting up like their own Bitcoin mining facilities, and because they have to contribute to the hashing power to like get their own source of Bitcoin. And we've heard the US talk about it. We've heard states talking about, possibly launching their own Bitcoin mining facilities as well. But one of the things that we haven't really talked about, sovereign compute and sovereign AI, like AI that's working on behalf of the person that owns it.
Yep.
What about state-owned data centers processing your own compute? You're providing your own inference for AI. So Michigan, is pro data centers because you're running your own AI that is not being jerry-rigged in any way, shape, or form in helping you assist run the state.
So I get very nervous when we talk about government control of things of that nature, right? Like, the number one thing that turned me on to decentralized finance and crypto was, how do we take money out of the government's hands? And when you're talking about putting full on data centers in the hands of the government, when you're talking about putting in AI in control of, like, the government in control of AI, that makes me really nervous. Because sure.
Well, and when I'm saying that, I'm talking about for your own use, not so that the state of Michigan isn't reliant on on Sam Altman, on OpenAI, on ChatGPT.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
And so like that's what I'm saying. So that there is a Michigan agent, and that's what I'm saying. Not necessarily the people reliant on the government, because I believe in, just like I believe in self-custody, but self-ownership and sovereign and decentralized compute infrastructure. Like that's what we build at Manifest. That's what we build at Morpheus, and even on the healthcare side of things, with Pi 3. So it's really interesting, but like having a Michigan centralized entity agent that is pro Michigan, and you don't have to worry about training models that might make it look at Michigan as a lesser state or something like that, or with a different political agenda.
Yeah, that's something I would need to learn a little bit more about before I could talk very competently about it.
Yeah, no, and like I said, I have random thoughts sometimes, so who knows what the future holds. But no, so now so obviously you're pro self custody, right?
Oh yeah.
So there's been talks and fears, like now that there's been some Federal Reserve changes coming along, and there's talks around both the Stable Act, the Clarity Act, and the Genius Act and stuff, that there's fears that, and there's that say that people shouldn't be able to, they're not smart enough to manage their own currency, their own crypto.
But the government's smart enough to do it.
Exactly. Well, so can I come run a daycare in your state by chance?
Maybe you should go to Minnesota. I hear they pay a lot better.
Dang it. I don't want to go to Minnesota. But all right, so there's a lot of fraud in Minnesota going on, or being exposed in Minnesota, just in one industry through like 10 businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you put a spotlight on something, there's always the spotlight feature. You focus it on one thing, and then you find a lot of other things. Michigan shares a very, very tiny border with a lake in between with Minnesota. Does some of that come over your guys' way? Are you guys? What are your guys' protection plan? What is your protection in that on that?
So there's a couple things. So first of all, interestingly enough, my chief of staff texted me this morning, and he just about what's going on in Minnesota. By the way, I've known about it since it happened, but my chief of staff texted me this morning, and said, like, of all of the political scandals that he has ever seen in the United States, in his mind, that's the worst. And I mean, we're talking like that goes Watergate, Iran Contra, like that's how big of a fraud this is. And I don't I don't even know if I agree with his statement or not, but to put it on that scale is what my point is. Like the amount of fraud that's happening in Minnesota, that's being uncovered in Minnesota, is a monumental scale. And so this things like this happen under the nose of people everywhere in the country. Maybe not to this extent. That and this might be an outlier from the size and scope of it, but just the overall fraud and abuse that's happening with tax dollars is rampant in government. And one of the things that's frustrating about it is it's just the way things are done a lot of times. And so a lot of times when these people are doing these things, they don't even realize that what they're doing is wrong. They don't think anything of it. And so it's just the way they accomplish things. And so in Michigan, one of the things that we did, actually we enacted this year, we created we created a system by which any appropriations ask before the budget is created, any ask for funding in the budget has to be released to the public 45 days in advance of any vote taken on that. So public scrutiny the public can go through line by line and scrutinize every single detailed item in there and say, okay, I may disagree with this, but at least I know it's for a cause that like it's not fraudulent, right?
Yeah.
And so then it's up to the members of the legislature to actually advocate and convince not only the public but the rest of the body why the program that they want to fund should be funded.
So so I've worked for the state of Colorado before, worked in the Medicaid and Medicare system. So like I know like what that process looks at. And so money gets earmarked for Medicaid services or human services. And this I was talking with someone yesterday about it, and I forget what like it's empathy almost on the verge of self-harm, like where we want to take care of other people. The government wants to take care of other people, most of the time. But people usually want to take care of other people, but they can't. And so there's services that provide that. And so it's almost like we will fund anyone who wants to take care of anyone. But then like someone like, and this is how I tried to picture how this might have started in my head.
Right.
Someone filled out a grant application to start a business, and but then like the building deal fell through, but their check got approved.
Right.
And the check came, and then the next check came, and they're like, well, wait. Then the third check, and they're like, wait, I don't have to actually run this to do this?
Right.
Oh, I'm sort of thinking that's sort of how it went. And so like, there's been a little bit of like talk of like, could blockchain have solved this in any way, shape, or form? And there's the line, trust but verify. And and at the end of the day, I'm like, well, blockchain would have shown where the payments went to, but they wouldn't have shown that there was no kids in a daycare center.
Right. Yeah. And there's certainly, as most people who understand blockchain technology know, there's a lot higher level of security in it. But that can only account for so much when it comes to fraud. It makes it more traceable. We know where the money is going a lot more easily. But the blockchain isn't going to be filing reports on the number of kids entering or leaving a daycare any day. You know what I mean? And so there's always that element of what frameworks do you have to put in place in order to prevent fraud, and it just gets cumbersome. And so there's an old saying that government creates more government. And that's, I mean, that's the truth, because anytime you have a government program, whether, and this is ignoring the question of whether you should have that government program in the first place, but anytime you have a government program, there's going to be problems within that you have to then create a position for a bureaucrat to oversee that. And then that's going to create a problem where you then have to add another layer of government to oversee that. And so it's just this all engulfing beast that never stops growing until somebody says, okay, enough with all of that. I'll take the blame. We have to cut all of this and rebuild.
Yeah. And instead of having overlaps of band-aids, restructure. And I wouldn't say government, yes, government creates more government, but I also think that, like, I don't want to say always bad actors, but like human idiots. And the reason why I say that, do you know the very first warning tag that was instituted on microwaves?
So I want to hear this story.
The very first warning that was instituted on microwaves was, do not put your pets in it.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. And now when you buy a new microwave, the cable has like 10 warning stickers on it for like 10 different things because, yeah, someone wanted to dry their animal.
Yeah, the human capacity for idiocy is endless.
Yeah. And so it's an interesting take to sort of see that more red tape happens because people do things that you would think that, I don't know, but no, it's very interesting to see. I really hate the fact that it's now turned into a racist thing to call out fraud.
Right.
That's the new thing, I guess. So gaslighting to the max.
My experience has always been that, anytime Democrats are getting called out for fraud or failure, all of a sudden now it's not okay to call them out because it's racism.
Yeah, no, and it's very interesting to sort of see. But have you followed? So you followed the fraud piece, but have you followed Shirley at all? The gentleman that sort of uncovered it all.
No, I have a very surface level understanding of everything that happened in Minnesota at this point. So I'd love to hear the story of how it was uncovered.
So Nick Shirley, he's like 23-year-old or something like that. Like, journalist, like gotcha journalist, type of guy that is out there, trying to in one day, this is basically, he uncovered all of this in one day. And he's been creating YouTube content on like different things and breaks in the system for a while, but this is one of those ones that just sort of broke it all out. And what's interesting is, he hasn't been getting any funding or anything like that to do this. But what he went and did the other day was launch a creator coin on Zora on Base. And it became one of the hottest tokens on Base, for a minute. And this was sort of one of the big things of creator coins at its finest, where, getting, he made in the fees alone for launching his token, he made around 46K as of 2 days ago. He's probably made a lot more than that since then. But yeah, Nick Shirley. So I love this grounded, and posted it on Twitter, and then it got picked up steam on Twitter, So people sort of play the power of people media, and it's interesting to sort of see how things can sort of blow up like that. Have you been getting any questions lately about coming into, I know we're at the almost, is session out right now? That's the right term?
Yeah, so we're on Christmas break right now. So we adjourned Sine Die, which means last day of the session for the year. I think on the 23rd, I want to say, and we are the Michigan Constitution stipulates that the second Wednesday of the new year is when the legislative session restarts. So we'll be back in January 14th, I think is the second Wednesday.
So it's mid-session then, so there's still a lot of discussion for things. Where's sort of what blockchain bills are up right now, and what are you trying to focus on?
So there's three main bills that I'm trying to make sure we get through to the finish line. Like obviously there's a bunch of them, but I have three priorities. One is the Strategic Crypto Reserve. The other is Bitcoin Bill of Rights, and the other is the state pension funds, ability to invest state pension funds into crypto. And so the Bill of Rights and the pension fund bills have passed out of committee. And so my expectation is that sometime in January, we will have a vote on the House floor on at least those two, and I suspect we will be able to pass those out of the House in January. So where the crypto reserve stands, I have some challenges there that I'm trying to work through with the Treasury Department, trying to figure out, all right, how can we get you guys to neutral? Right now, they're opposed to it, which is kind of holding things up.
Have you have you talked to like Texas because Texas instituted a strategic reserve and they earmarked like 10 million. I think they only invested like 5 million of it. They bought Bitcoin on the dip,
right. Good timing for them, right?
Yeah, they're up on that, which is pretty cool to see. I guess I like seeing when like states or government makes a technologically advanced move, and it pays out. You know, even on the short term, knowing that it is an asset that can go up and down, but like right away buying something and then it just dumping the next day sort of sucks. But they waited for like it was like October 12th or 13th.
Yeah.
So after the October 10th dip in the market we had, dump in the market we had.
Mm-hmm.
So you see this. What is the Treasury's sort of like contention with it?
So, part of it was an error in how the bill was drafted. So when the bill was drafted, and this was, we had a switch in staff, and so this change the ball was dropped on that, and so we're going to put an amendment in if we haven't already. So the way it was drafted originally, it would, rather than creating a separate fund that would be established that could be invested in crypto, it allowed part of the state of Michigan's general fund, actually 10%, up to 10% of the state of Michigan's general fund, to be invested in crypto. The problem with that, and understandably so, why the Treasury Department had a problem there, is everything in the general fund is expected to be spent within a year. And so, that time horizon isn't conducive to being in crypto. It's like, no matter when you go in, that money is coming out by the end of the year. And so it doesn't allow the flexibility that you need if you're investing something into crypto. And so that was one of the main problems. What I would like to do is switch it over to the rainy day fund, which is a separate fund that the state of Michigan has, that is essentially a savings account for a rainy day. To me, that's where it makes the most amount of sense, is just saying, all right, the rainy day fund, you can invest up to 10% of that fund into crypto. And
how big is the rainy day fund right now?
Actually, I don't know, because I'm pretty sure Governor Whitmer spent it all during her lockdown. I think she spent a lot of it, even though she blew through a $9 billion surplus on top of that. But I think at one point, I think before she took office, I think it was like $6 or $7 billion, if I remember right. But I could be way off base on that.
So it's not a huge thing. Like, it's not millions of dollars right now. It would be like a $500,000 investment.
It could be up to, it could, I mean, 10% of $6 billion is, what is that?
Oh.
600 billion or 600 million?
Million. I thought you said million. I
No,
apologize.
billion with a B.
Billion with a B.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
it was a big fund at one point. And I mean, and again, we also have the pension fund, which, I mean, I think that's somewhere around 90 billion dollars, I think. That one's a big one. I don't remember how much it is off the top of my head, but
Do you
it's
know
a
what
lot bigger than the rainy day fund ever was.
Do you know your funding rate on your pension fund? Like at
I
the
do not.
percentage of no. So like, what I mean by that is like the United States Postal Service's pension fund is at 150% funded, meaning if every single employee of the United States Post Office retired today, they would have full pension plus an extra 50%. So
yeah, so ours is underfunded substantially.
Okay.
So like substantially. And that was one of my main arguments for using for allowing the investment into crypto, because right now the over the last couple of years, part of our state budget is shifting tax dollars into the pension fund to try to bring it up and make it whole again. And that's costing taxpayers. I think the last one was like $200 million that we put into it, and so had this pension bill, which Representative Bill Schuette is actually the sponsor of that. I had it drafted; it was part of the package. Gave it to Representative Schuette. So had Schuette's bill for the pension fund been enacted 3 years ago and utilized to its fullest extent, that our entire pension fund would be fully funded by now without using a single penny of tax dollars.
Okay. All right. And so is it more just not, I don't want to say bad wording, but amendments are needed to like better clarify, or is it political opposition as well across the party or across the aisle?
It's more of nuance, like in order to get the strategic reserve across the finish line, I think there's just going to be a compromise that's going to be made that says, okay, it's not going to be the general fund, which I never wanted it there to begin with, and maybe it's not the rainy day fund. Maybe we create a separate fund that stands on its own, and the wording is that up to 10% of the general fund can be invested into this separate fund. So where the hang up is on the time horizon that fund is accessible and can be held.
Okay. And would that be funded by taxpayer dollars or?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. It would be fun. You could do like a fun thing to where like all fines and fees that are paid, during the month of, Q2 right, also go towards buying Bitcoin.
Right.
Crime actually does pay the state. No.
Right. Well, and there's another piece to it that I'd be looking at as well, like another funding mechanism. Gosh, oh my gosh, I can't even think of the term right now. It's when the government confiscates your stuff before trial, like when you're initially arrested.
Search and seizure.
Yeah, it's part of that whole thing, and it's going to drive me nuts that I can't think of this term for it. But anyway, I disagree with this philosophy anyway, but our state does it, and I lose the battle every time I try to raise it that the state should not be doing this. We can't. The government should not just be taking stuff from people, whether they're guilty or not, if it has nothing to do with the crime. All right, that's just it just doesn't make any sense.
Forfeiture by seizure from
asset forfeiture.
Yeah, and with eminent domain probabilities on it of we're going to sell it.
Right.
Auction.
Right. So right now, one of the areas where I think we could do that is any gains to the government through asset forfeiture should go into that pot. Now, again, I don't think that practice should exist at all, but it does.
Yeah. All right. So, I guess then, like, what do you sort of see as next? Like, what are like, and I assume Stand with Crypto is helping with all the drafting and the amendments and everything like that.
Yep.
And are you getting, so there's Stand with Crypto Michigan, there's Stand with Crypto National, or are you guys getting support on the national level as well?
I've mainly just been working with Elizabeth on it, so I haven't really had any conversations with national. I've been working a lot with Satoshi Action Fund as well on it,
Mhm.
and so that's where a lot of the language came from on several of these bills, and so they've been instrumental in making sure we're getting things across the finish line. But the next step in my mind is getting the pension fund bill and the Bitcoin Bill of Rights up for a vote on the House floor, and moving the strategic reserve bill through the committee process.
All right. All right. And so here's a random question then. As you know, because national political donations, do you receive political donations on chain?
No,
Can you?
I don't know. I've actually, it's interesting. I've never actually looked into it.
Okay. All right. We might have to look into that. But yeah, no, because I know there's like a really cool friend of mine, Leap. He helped start up donate.gg, on-chain donations. Red Cross, St. Jude's is like the major one that he's working with. We're taking donations on chain. In the last 7 months, they've raised like 7 figures for like St. Jude's and cancer research and stuff like that. And so I know there's been some other politicians that have taken donations on chain. Trump did on a federal level and stuff like that. I know Gemini managed that on the donation side and the reporting, so everything was, legitimate and stuff like that. So yeah, but then I know a lot of it went to PACs and super PACs, and then they filter it out as cash. So yeah,
interesting. I'll have to look into that.
Add those buttons.
More buttons. I love the buttons on the emails.
Well, it's more ways. I'm like, the more ways you can give money, the more ways you can, the armchair people, the armchair supporters can actually, the easier. And that's one of the really cool things about crypto is how easy it makes it to send to someone.
Right.
So do you have any pets?
Not currently, actually. So a couple years ago, I had to put my dog down, and I haven't had the heart to get a new dog since then. So, but yeah.
But you got a farm, so you don't got animals.
No, it's strictly crops. So it's all we just grow hops there. What's that?
Barn cats?
No, barn cat. I don't do barn cats. I don't do barn cats.
Oh man.
They always end up sick, and it's a problem.
Okay. All right. Yeah, no, I just, I would think, hops. I know Governor Hickenlooper. I knew him before he was mayor. He used to run a brewery and stuff like that. So
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now he is Senator Hickenlooper.
Okay.
Yeah. For Colorado. So, all right. Next election's in what, 2 years?
No, I'll be up for re-election November of 26.
November of 26. All right. So that means you're running, you're shaking babies and kissing hands.
There's a lot of baby shaking and hand kissing.
Yeah. I think we're supposed to do it the opposite way.
It's funny. So have you ever seen the movie The Campaign with Will Ferrell and Zach Galifianakis, where they punch the baby? That's the best part of that movie ever.
It is. Yeah. I just got nervous. Yeah. I forgot the order. Yeah. Man, those two guys. So, all right. So what's are you going to run for re-election?
That's the plan.
All right. And you got the backing to do it?
Yeah. I should be able to win relatively easily. So like last election cycle, I spent 95% of my time campaigning for other people. during the campaign side of things. I mean, like I did the things in district that I needed to all during my term to where my face was out there. I knew the people, and I had the support that I needed to, and so I didn't have to worry about spending a ton of money in my own race and spending a lot of time in my own race. But my main focus was ensuring that we took control of the House of Representatives, which we were able to do. We were the only legislative body to flip control in 2024.
Nice. And so you've run 2 terms now, right? You
3
run 2-year terms?
Yeah, 2-year terms. So I ran in 2020, 2022, and 2024.
Okay. All right. Nice. There's people that have talked about term limits. Is
Mhm.
this something that you think that should be a term limit, or you think that you'll run it until your wheels fall off? Or
So in Michigan, we have term limits. So in Michigan, you can serve a total of 12 years between the House and the Senate. So you can spend all 12 years in the House, you can spend all 12 years in the Senate, or you can do like 4 in the House and 8 in the Senate.
And are you going to try to upgrade to the Senate one of these, like, next round?
No, probably not. I mean, if I was ever going to move to the Senate, it would be 2026, and it really just doesn't make sense for me. I mean, so I'm the majority floor leader in the House of Representatives. I'm the second highest ranking member of the House, and so if I go over to the Senate, now all of a sudden I'm a back desk member of the legislature again, and
Yeah.
so and plus I'd get paid less to represent 3 times the size of a district, and so there's that too.
Hey, pay the bills.
Right.
A friend recently came out with an app called Insider Wave.
Okay.
And it tracks the portfolios of representatives.
Mm-hmm.
And because representatives they have like 45 days to declare their trades and stuff like that.
Right.
And this started about 3 years ago, I think it was. He
Mm-hmm.
was like on excuse my language, shits and giggles. He was like, I'm just going to copy, like, this is old news, but I'm going to copy trade Nancy Pelosi.
Right.
And that turned 38K into over 6 figures. And he's like, and then he just kept on copy trading her. And so now there's his app has like other representatives. And so as soon as like data comes out, it's like, this is the trade they made and stuff like that. So are you making trades, or do you think crypto should be regulated in the same way?
So no, I have my 401k and all of that. That's really my investment vehicle, I suppose. I hold some crypto, although I have pretty much most of it out right now. And I will say I think there's some regulation that should be put on it. I don't know that banning all trading is the way to go, especially at the state level. Like the policy changes that we make at the state level are like have zero impact for the most part when it comes to the fluctuations of the market. It just doesn't. So regulating it at the state level, I don't know that that's necessarily an important thing to do. When you're talking about members of Congress, I think there has to be a conflict of interest, a stronger level of conflict of interest. Like there should be a complete ban on any trades where there's a conflict of interest, 100%. Like if you're sitting on the energy committee and you're trading energy stocks, that's a problem. Like that should not exist. But if you're on, like if you're sitting on the transportation committee and you're trading something that's completely irrelevant to any of the policies that you're talking about, I don't personally see a problem there.
Do you sit on any committees?
Yeah. So I'm on insurance. I'm on the insurance committee, finance committee, and then the House Fiscal Agency Oversight Committee. So overseeing the House of Representatives budget. And I'm on the Rules Committee, which the Rules Committee manages the legislation. The Rules Committee reviews any legislation that's passed that gives the executive branch the authority to create administrative rules to ensure that that legislation is enacted.
Okay. And the insurance committee, what is this?
Right. So like typical, like your homeowners insurance, typically at the state level, it's auto insurance. Like that's the highest, that's the main thing, but also health insurance, like anything having to do with insurance that has to do with state policy runs through the insurance committee. But the heaviest is typically on the auto insurance side of things.
All right. And so do you think, is there going to be a Web3 AI committee coming up anytime soon, or is that going to fall under a different committee?
That would probably fall under technology and communications.
Both on the blockchain side and the AI side, or
that would be my guess. Like
under finance.
So it depends on what the bills, what the legislation specifically does. I would say most of the conversations regarding blockchain technology and that type of thing, and AI, AR, Web3, all of that will probably focus primarily in technology. But then there's going to be some pieces of it like that will likely go through either economic development potentially, or it'll go through finance. Now the reality is, any bill can be sent. So that the Speaker of the House, at least in Michigan, I don't know if this is the way it's done in other states, but at least in Michigan, any bill can go to any committee based on the Speaker of the House's decision. Like, so if like my crypto bill, if the Speaker wanted to send that to the Ag Committee, the Agricultural Committee, he could. Now, the members on the Ag Committee probably wouldn't know very much about it, but that it is what it is. So I think the bulk of Web3 legislation would go through technology, and blockchain bills I think the bulk would go through technology, but some of it might be pulled and go different directions if there's a better fit, like insurance, if it has to do with insurance, or finance if it has to do with, municipal finance or tax policy or things like that.
Okay, nice. I like that breakdown of that, and thanks for the breakdown on it. So I know you're on leave right now and you're out with family, and I want to really appreciate, Brian, you taking the time. Is it Brian? Is it representative? Is it floor leader? What is the proper salutations?
So the proper salutation for me is leader. Like if you're leader. So based on my title is floor leader, the salutation is leader. So if you just see me in the street, you're like, "What's up, leader?" But Taco, you go by Taco. You can call me Brian.
Yes. All right. Yes. And please don't call me Mr. Taco. That is my father. So all right, we covered a lot on the corporate, the fraud stuff, the corporate like you and me got into a little bit. I have an opposing view of you. You're calling it corporate welfare.
Yep.
So I want to like bring like two big things down into like 5-10 minutes. So because I know I want to respect your time and stuff like that. So, but corporate welfare is what you're calling it versus tax incentives, of what everyone else sort of calls it. This is a bill that you're sort of proposing. What is that? And let's argue this.
So first of all, I say corporate welfare because it's more encompassing than just tax incentives, right? So like tax incentives is one thing. That's a lesser form of corporate welfare. There's also writing a check, the government using tax dollars to write a check directly to a company. That's also corporate welfare. So it's just more expansive of a term. Other people will just say economic development. Those are people that are typically encouraging of these things. But my view is, and what led to this bill package is, I don't believe it's in anybody's best interest, the people of Michigan or anywhere around the country, for the government to be utilizing taxpayer dollars to bribe companies, the top 10, 15, 20 most well-connected, well-funded companies in the world, to bribe them to leave one area and come to the other area, to move their business. Ultimately, because this practice is being done, though, states can't afford not to do it, because it's a zero-sum game. If right now, if Michigan doesn't participate in this practice, then we can't be competitive. We are going to lose out to states like Kentucky or Tennessee or Texas or all of these other states that participate in this as well. So as long as everybody has their guns drawn and are utilizing these incentives, whether it's a tax incentive or just a funding of the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars, as long as that other states are doing this, Michigan has to do it as well. But it's a race to the bottom. And so I introduced, along with several other members of the House of Representatives, it was a bipartisan package. I think there's 9 or 10 bills in the entire package that would, number one, create an interstate compact that when enough states around the country sign on, it's a universal disarming of corporate welfare. So it makes it so none of the states can participate in it. Like I said, it's like no individual state can end this practice on their own. It has to take an agreement among everybody to say, okay, we're done with this. We're done using tax dollars to bribe companies to come to our states. So that's one piece of it. Another piece of it is that it as long as the practice is still in existence, it builds a more narrow framework for what that has to look like. So, for example, the bulk of the money can't go out ahead of time before the project is done, right? Like it has to be, all right, this company spent $500,000 on this building for this business that they've gotten approved for. So they spent the money, they're going to show the receipts. Now you'll get a reimbursement. The bulk of it's going to be reimbursement based. And then also the bulk of it has to be performance based. Like I can't tell you how many times companies have come to us in the legislature and said, hey, if you give us $5 million or $100 million, we will create 10,000 jobs that will last forever. And then all of a sudden that subsidy gets passed, that company gets the check, and no jobs are created. And yet they get to keep that money. And so another piece of this is a clawback provision that says, okay, well, not only is this going to be built on reimbursements, like you spend the money and then we'll reimburse you, but it's also going to be based on performance metric. Whereas, okay, you say you're going to create, you are getting this money because you say you're going to create 5,000 jobs or 500 jobs. Okay, well, if you only create 100 jobs, you have to pay some of that money back. If you don't create any jobs, you have to pay all of that money back.
Yeah. So one of the things I heard here was you're looking on an interstate compact of ratification between a majority of states, or I would assume you would need all 50 states and DC, and even the 51st state just north of you to sign on to this, because if not, you said it would superimpose it on others. Would that
so basically
the states?
The and it's been a minute since I read through what it was, but the threshold is I want to say the threshold was enough states to make up 3/5 of the members of Congress and 3/5 of the members of the Senate for the purpose of because at that point, then it compels the federal government to end the practice nationally. Okay, I believe that's how it's worded. I'd have to double check the details on that again. It's been a minute since I testified on it.
Okay, and how's that going? Is that dead in the water? Is that got legs? Is it still in the cooker?
It has legs. I believe it passed out of committee right before or no, we just introduced it. We just introduced it. So I think we're looking at a hearing date sometime in January, potentially February. And I think we have some legs there. One of the challenges in Michigan is, there's a little bit of a disagreements between the Republican House and the Democrat Senate, and so there's not a strong working relationship between the two, and so there haven't been a lot of Senate bills passed out of the House, and there haven't been a lot of House bills passed out of the Senate yet, and so now the package that I introduced was a bipartisan package, and so I think we might be able to kind of break that logjam a little bit. In fact, Michigan, I think this year was the fewest laws enacted, fewest bills enacted and signed into law in the history of the state, or at least in modern history. So whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is debatable, but fewer bad policies is a good thing, I'd say.
Yeah. All right. And now the big piece we've sort of, like I wanted to touch on, we've seen some changes with the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
And coming into blockchain and everything like that. So how is Michigan sort of positioning itself? How are you as a leader, positioning your district and, your constituents and your policy around that?
So for listeners that aren't aware, in December, the Federal Reserve kind of reversed course on a statement that they put out, a practice that they put out back in 2023, which basically was initially their stance was anything against crypto, right? And in December, they've kind of softened their position there, which will likely lead to a more institutional adoption of crypto. I've been saying all along, one of the main reasons why what led to my bills and introducing my bills is that one of the things that crypto needs is institutional adoption, not only state by state, but also at the federal level in the United States and at the federal level around the world. And the more institutional adoption we get, the less volatile the asset will be, and the more it'll become common practice and daily use for a higher number of people. That's where we have to get to, but we can't get there without institutional adoption. And so I think this new position that the Federal Reserve has taken will continue to propel institutional adoption forward. We've seen it happening over the last year and a half, 2 years, but now reversing their position on banks and allowing banks to work in the world of blockchain and crypto is going to be a big step. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay. All right. And have you thought of like state tokens?
Funny you should ask that. Interestingly, it's never been something that I cared too much about. Although one of the bills in the first package that we released for our crypto package created Mishcoin, which was a state-based token tied to gold and silver. So it would be done with both. I've had a lot of problems with members of the legislature on that one, so I'm not pushing it. But it was one where in 2024, a Democrat had introduced it, and so I was like, all right, let's have that person reintroduce it as part of this package to make it more of a bipartisan package as well. Again, not something that I care too much about, but we'll see. I don't think that was going to go anywhere though.
We could launch Mitchcoin. I would just go, Michigan coin, and Mitch would be the ticker. We could launch Michigan coin in dollars, and then all of the fees for it, Michigan gets to their treasury, all the trading fees on it. But then you could accept payment of services in Mitchcoin, and basically, like, let's say Mitchcoin's trading at $3 or $1. Let's just say $1. Well, it pays for and I have a bill in Michigan, and a state toll bill or something like that. That's $20. So I pay in 20 Mitchcoins. Well, then Michigan gets those. They could sell them, get the $20, or they could then, put them back on the market priced at like $2.50.
Mm-hmm.
And then Michigan makes money on that, and they make money on the trade, all of those trades in between.
Right.
Let's do it. We can do that.
We'll have to talk about that sometime.
We could do that, and that would be fun, So, yeah. No, there's a lot of things that there with like a state token you could do,
Right.
People, So how long have you been in crypto?
Invested in it actually not long at all. I didn't invest anything into it until after I introduced my package of bills and publicly announced it. So for two different reasons. One, I've been interested in and very highly supportive of Bitcoin since it launched. I've been highly interested in the idea of decentralized finance since 2003 or 2004, and that's what led me to Bitcoin as soon as it launched. My view was forever
2010, yeah. So 2009 Bitcoin launched. So yeah. And decentralized finance was talked about long before that,
Right,
so.
right, and so like my soiree into Bitcoin was happened long. I was waiting for something like Bitcoin long before Bitcoin ever came, because I like the concept of centralized banking and fiat currency blew my mind, like from when I was in college. And so that's what led me to Bitcoin. Normally people find out about that side of things the opposite direction. They find Bitcoin and they're like, oh, there's a thing called fiat currency. And so I came at it from the opposite direction. But my view was always like oh my gosh, the Federal Reserve is going to destroy this. Like they're going to shut it down as soon as possible. But then then that just never happened, and now it's too big for that to happen. So then I was like, okay, I guess I guess it's never going away now. It's too big for the Federal Reserve to stand in the way. But then I didn't want to invest in it before launching my bill packages, because I didn't want anybody to be able to look at me and say, well, the only reason why you're doing that is because you invested in it. Well, no, that's not why. And so I did the PR campaign when I launched the packages and introduced them. And then after that, I invested into it. And it wasn't much. I think I have like 10 grand in it.
All right. Well, and did you self-custody, or did you get it on like Coinbase?
First round was Coinbase, and then I added a little bit that was self-custody, and then I added a little bit that was ETF.
Okay. All right. So you're well positioned. So then the big question is, do you own any Trump token?
No.
Not even one Trump token?
Not even a single one, and no, I'm not going to buy yours.
What? You're not going to buy well, okay, fine. All right, that's fine with me. We don't need that shit coin in our wallets, No. All right. So, and then, man, Ryan, I have 1,000 more questions, but I want to be respectful of your time, and like I said, this, we've been talking now for an hour and a quarter, and it just flies by.
It does. Well, I always appreciate being on with you. I love the conversation. So anytime you ever want to have this conversation again, let me know, and I'm in.
All right. Representative leader, floor leader, Postumus, thank you so much for joining us today, man.
Thank you. Have a great night.
All right. Good night. And as we wrap this up, I want to thank everyone for joining us for TacoBytes, your daily bite of Degen, episode number 978. We didn't get to keep Brian on for the end, so he didn't get to see how the end went. But as always, we end with the same two things. Words of wisdom, the greatest, worst knock-knock joke on the face of the planet. I want to thank everyone for joining us. I want to shout out to everyone on LinkedIn, Player One Taco YouTube, 0xDegens YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Telegram, Rumble, Kick, on chain via Abstract, and huge shout out to the entire Pudgy family, and then a huge shout out to everyone on the Arena as well. Always love my Arena family. Actually, some cool people over there. Actually, really cool. But we're gonna end this episode as we end every episode, and those that joined us on Twitter Space as well. Huge shout out to all of you. But as always, we end with the same two things: the words of wisdom, which are always the same. A closed mouth cannot be fed, meaning, and you cannot feed a closed mouth, meaning if no one knows you're looking for opportunity, opportunity can never come knocking. If opportunity does come knocking and no one answers, it's going to keep on walking. With that, I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight, and we end with the greatest worst knock-knock joke on the face of the planet. We have told this joke 977 times. Knock knock. Who's there?